Hello, 45 Alfa Charlie Papa channel. It's the old singing Gunsmith with you once again, working on a 1906 project. We're getting to the point now we are starting to have to look at how we're going to refinish this. I know, I'm ruining it by refinishing it. There's no other way around it at this point. We've already taken the part that was hammered on and flattened that back out. So now we need to blend all of this in, otherwise we're going to have a two-tone receiver when we try and put any finish on it. So we're going to have to do something to try and even that out, even the color out. And the best thing to do here is probably going to be to use some cloth back sandpaper and go ahead and even that entire thing out. You want to take something that is flat and put your sandpaper down on it. The idea is to maintain these lines. You'll notice that this is a straight flat line. It's a sharp edge, and you want to keep your sharp edges. You don't want to round them off. So using something that's as flat as possible, we're going to work on this until we get an even finish throughout the whole thing, about the same scratch pattern, for lack of a better term. Now this can take quite a bit of time, actually, depending on how far you want to go. What I'm going to try and do is I'm going to just try and make it, get rid of any file marks that we had from working on the hammered over area, and we're going to try and just get rid of those so that when we refinish it, we get a finish that is the same and across the entire piece. I'm not doing very well this morning talking, am I? Huh. This is normally, where I sing to myself. I'll try not to afflict you on that at the moment. Let's see how we're doing. All right. What we have is you were getting at least a finish that is the same across the whole thing. We don't have bright here and dull back here. It's pretty much universally blah. So as I said, we're not trying to restore this to factory new. What we're trying to do is bring it back to acceptable. What we really want to do is, if you look at the top of the bolt here, it's kind of a gray. That's where it's gotten to, is kind of a gray finish. In other words, there's basically no blue left there. It's just aged over the years. So we're going to try and match that. That's not an easy thing to do. Basically, we're going to have to find a cold blue that doesn't work very well. And if we find one that works really, really well, we're going to get a dark blue that we're going to have to work back down with steel wool or perhaps even abrasive paper to get back to something approaching that look. And it can be somewhat tedious. Here we come. Looking better. This is hardly going to look new. If you can see, there's still some pitting in here and some dark color. As I said, we're not trying to make this look new. Same as this. We can go all the way down until it's totally, absolutely, completely smooth, and polish it all up. And then when we glue it, it will look like new. Trying to avoid that, actually. I wanted to match the other pieces. If I was going to do that, I would have to make sure I redid all the metal pieces. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to match this kind of gray look of all the rest of the metal. You want it to look like it's aged altogether. And you're going to say, and should, so why did you do this in the first place? Why didn't you just leave it the way it was? Well, I wanted those mushroomed over hammer marks from the front of the receiver off of there, so the gun didn't look like it had been abused. And we could have left that. It wouldn't have hurt any. Okay, we've got the receiver down to about where we want it, and I have tested a couple of different bluing solutions, cold blues, and I have found one that is giving me exactly what I'm looking for, a gray finish that matches pretty much all the other parts. Now, I'm not going to put that one out there because I don't want to get sued by the manufacturer for having denigrated his product as not being good. We've discussed when we did the cold bluing segment that different cold blues work better on different alloys. Well, I found one that doesn't work very well on this particular alloy. Doesn't mean that it isn't a fine product. Doesn't mean it doesn't work on others, but on this one it's spotty. So we're going to go ahead and apply that to our piece. Come out here a little bit to where you can see that I'm using an acid brush here. Put it on, letting it work for a little bit, dipping the acid brush in some water. Make sure that it's nice and even. Let it work for a bit until it seems to have achieved the color I want. And wipe it off. There it is, and I've been putting a second coat on, getting it just a little darker yet. As I told you before, this is the reason that most people keep several cold blues around. You don't always want the cold blue that does the best job. Sometimes you want a cold blue that isn't particularly good on the alloy when you're trying to match something else. And that is pretty much what we're looking for. Something that will match the other pieces and not look out of place. Worn gray look. Like it's been there for 100 years. A little over. More or less. So I suspect we'll do the barrel the same way. Now the barrel might be totally different steel. We might get a total different reaction from the same stuff. Before we do that, we should get the brake parts clear here and get all of the blue that we put on there. We're fitting everything. Any grease or oil. gas and oil. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and see if we can do the barrel and get it without too many streaks. Small areas aren't hard to do. Harder when you get into large areas. They don't want to quite glue all the same. So we'll see what we can do here. I'm ready to admit this may not be a color that you would like. You might feel like you want to go darker and really glue it and make it look pretty. Nothing wrong with that. It's all a matter of what you're trying to achieve as far as the look is concerned. I'm, not concerned about how pretty it looks. I'm more concerned about how authentic it looks. I want it to look aged. I want it to look like the whole thing has aged together and it's 100 years old and beat up for a reason. I just want all the parts to match. Sometimes when you're working for a customer, the idea isn't to do the greatest gluing job that anyone's ever seen. The idea is to match the wear and tear of the rest of the pieces. That's in some cases much harder. We're used to doing the best job we know how. Not so used to going out there and challenging ourselves to come up with a finish that isn't the most beautiful we've ever seen. All depends what the job calls for. Beauty's in the eye of the guy with the money in his pocket, and it's paying you to do it. If he thinks it's beautiful, then it's beautiful. If he thinks it's crappy, it's crappy. Well, that's ugly. That is ugly. It pretty much matches everything else, but it ain't pretty. As I feared, it's not very consistent. But again, it's a matter of what we're trying to achieve here. Are we trying to achieve beautiful? Well, not necessarily. There you are. A kind of a gray-brown, just like the other parts have aged naturally. That's what we were going for, something that looked like it belonged on this gun with the other parts. So once that's done, we'll want to put a few drops of oil on there, make sure we stop the process. And just in case you're wondering, this is Brownell's gun oil from Lucas. Lucas? Is that right? I'll have to look at it. That's something you can do at home. You don't need a lot of equipment. It will really do a fine job if I can keep it from falling and sliding across the bench. Yeah, that'll hold it. And we'll start putting this back together and see what we've got here in probably the next episode or two. Until then, this is the singing old gunsmith, or the old singing gunsmith, saying happy trails to you until we meet again.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.